In this monologue, I would like to have a theme of repairing the current. And looking back at the first one that went out, I'm grateful that a couple of friends have responded favourably. It's always welcome in this early stage to have some feedback. So thank you for that. And also, I'm aware that in this world, it's all right to say that you're extremely intelligent. There is a Mensa card which is proof of that almost absurd statement that I'm extremely intelligent. So, on a theme of repairing the current, let's see what can happen, and we'll see if there can be some entertainment in these monologues. If a person has attained, then there is something linking that word attainment to the word retain, to pertain, to contain, and to entertain. If you are entering, if you're being invited to enter into an attainment, then it should almost by definition be entertaining. And if it's not entertaining, then why on earth would you carry on watching? That's what I would say. So here's to hopefully some entertaining monologues. The thing about a monologue, again, is that it is singular. In the old ways of transmitting teachings, they were all verbal and memorized. They didn't have the technology before writing took place. There is only perhaps the tension between in the Western world, in the Judeo-Christian, Islamic, Abrahamic spirituality, this fact that the Ten Commandments were written down. So there we have the establishment of a written order and a book, and then Christ came along and nothing much was written down there until later on when there were committees that established the Gospels. And then Muhammad, peace be upon him, came along, and he was illiterate, could neither read nor write. And so his message was entirely from the monologue. The Quran itself is a monologue. And the thing about a monologue is sometimes if it is in that place of true mono, then there is only one. And the I is that place of singularity. If it's a rendition of an inner dialogue where the personality is in a place of inner conversation with the one and then speaking as if it is still part of the monologue, then it is we. And in that Quranic expose, there is that enigmatic shifting of the first person from the singular to the plural. So when a verb declines in its declension, it goes from the first, second, third person singular and the first, second, third person plural, the I and the we. The you stays the same, whether it is singular or plural. And the third person is he, she, it. And in the singular and in the third person it is they. I live in a place called Hull, and it is fun for me sometimes to talk about this place, Hull. If you had something very valuable to hide, where would you hide it? Would you hide it in a place that is glitzy and attractive and says, here is something of priceless value, come and get it, with neon lights, and or would you hide it somewhere where people think it's just a tip and wouldn't go anywhere near it? In Arabic there is a word, who, and it's a very common word, and it means he, she, or it in the third person singular. It also denotes the inexpressible essence, the almost inexpressible essence of God, hidden in its singularity, containing everything, black matter, dark energy, the Higgs boson, and all of the multiplicity as well. So it's said sometimes in the way of trying to explain what life is, that life is the double who. It is the visible who, the he, she, and it, and it is the invisible who. So it is the coming together of the two whos, which we see as invisibility meets visibility. And then I say to people, what is the postcode of Hull? And there's a slight hesitation for those who live in Hull. And then they say HU. I said, who? Hidden in plain sight, in God's own city. But the establishment of current, the repairing of current, the positive and negative divide, the political divide, the sectarian divide, the divide between rich and poor, the many apparent disparities of this world reflect the material combination of positive and negative forces without which matter would not cohere. So like in a battery, there are terminals, positive and negative terminals, and in our existence there are terminologies which pertain to views of life which can end up being more of the terminal than of the current between the terminals, because a current flows between terminals. So my life in this body has the terminal construction of a birth and a death, and these terminals turn. Sometimes I'm very pleased I was born, sometimes I don't feel pleased at all that I was born and can't wait to die. Sometimes I don't want to die, and I prefer to celebrate more birthdays. So these terminals turn in my relationship to them, but the current of my life flows between the terminals. So the La ilaha illallah in Arabic, this mystery of there is no God but God. The mystery of Muhammad, peace be upon him, and his favourite uncle, who was always in denial of his message. The mystery of Jesus Christ and the disciple Judas, the positive and the negative, the denial, the betrayal, and the affirmation. The Buddha walking away from the palace, the disparity which caused the effort and the effect of illumination and enlightenment, and the current which flows between the terminals of affirmation and denial. It seems is riven through our history of spiritual and mental and physical experience on this planet. And so where I'm trying to speak from here in this monologue is in the singularity of current. Electricity is a singularity. The psyche is a singularity. Life is a singularity. Love is a singularity. And ultimately that which people call God, is it just the same? It is the singularity. And the singularity manifests when it can manifest consciously with a current of expression which contains the terminals and their terminologies. And if the terminals aren't connected, then there is no current. So this is why this theme of this monologue is the repairing of the current situation, what is currently happening in the now. Sometimes people are asked to live in the now, to live in the present, but aren't told how to do it, aren't helped to understand what the current is and how it arrives and how we can experience it in ourselves. The religious situation at the moment is, as always, difficult for people to translate and to feel comfortable with. So in this age we have somebody called Mr. Richard Dawkins, who is a very fervent atheist, very clearly exposing the stupidities and the illogicality of people who believe in an invisible God, and his actions and his popularity is very firmly within La ilaha, there is no God. And his position is and his terminology is in that terminal. And there are those who are in the believing sector, who are in the place of illallah, who get very upset about some of Mr. Dawkins' utterances. We all have Mr. Dawkins and the believing terminal inside ourselves. So everything that we see outside is to be found inside. So sometimes the assumption is that the Allah place, the but God place, is the place that we need to be in. But there are many people who are in the Allah place who are just as cut off from the current as those who may be stuck in the position of Mr. Dawkins. I'm speaking to you from a place of connection between my inner La ilaha and my inner illallah. Otherwise the current could not flow for this monologue to take place. So the repairing is happening in me in every instant. My pair is connected and they don't agree with each other. And the important thing is that the flux and the connection is insulated, and the work is done to be able to maintain this position of true La ilaha illallah for the current to be a living part of my understanding of the past and future, which in itself forms terminal associations in my energy and ability to cohere. So the structures of societies reflect the structures of the individuals within those societies. And I'm wearing a little timer on my wrist which tells me I've been speaking for 14 minutes. Time flies when you're having a good time. So I'm keeping these monologues down to 15 minutes and hoping that I can segue back into this if possible, to look at how the individual and a culture relate to each other within this current and flow of life, which in itself is a singular expression, capable of repairing itself. So thank you for listening, and see what happens next time.